I used to absolutely dread editing until I figured out this one thing. And yes, you heard that right. I am a professional book editor. That is how I make my living. And I used to dread editing my own work because it's different, right? Like, how many times have you been reading a book and thought, oh, I would have changed this, or I would have switched these words around? When you're looking at someone else's work, you can see it clearly, but then you start trying to edit your stuff and it's like you're standing in a fog. So the question is, how do you start seeing your own work like you see somebody else's? All right, y'all, take a deep breath. You've made it to the writing woods. The sun has just started to set. It is a gorgeous evening. I'm out here with my dog, who is currently behind the camera, spinning in circles with his nose stuck in the soil. I don't know what he's going after, but Lord help me if he finds it. So how do you start approaching your work like it's a stranger's? What we want is to view our own writing objectively. So just do that, right? Video over. Awesome. Good job, everyone. Okay, no, there are actually practical things that you can do to make that process easier. And we're going to talk about some of those because we're here in the woods. There's no pressure, no worries. Everybody here loves writing and we're here to get better at it together. So first of all, why is objectivity important? I think this is one of those things that we know inherently, but we maybe don't look at too closely. So I think it's worth just taking a second to really think about what being objective can do for your editing process. Because when you're writing, you are so close to that story. I mean, we're opening up a vein, right? We're putting so much of ourselves into our work. Even if you're writing about something that has absolutely nothing to do with you, you are using your own life experiences to inform your writing, to make the reader feel something, right? No tears in the writer, no tears in the reader, right? So we are so incredibly close to our work, and it makes it difficult to see it clearly because, first of all, we know too much about it, right? It's hard to separate what we know in our heads from what we actually put down on the page. And number two, it becomes really, really difficult to cut, to change something that feels like it's a part of us. Because if that story is part of me and I am having to tear it apart, to cut pieces out of it, then I'm cutting into myself. I'm cutting into my own flesh. And I know we've all kind of had that feeling. And even all the practice that I do with being objective, still, when I cut a scene, I save it. I have a little scraps folder that I put it in because it makes it a little easier for me mentally, even though I know that I'm never gonna touch that scraps folder. I have never used anything out of it. I'm never gonna use anything out of it. But it makes it just that little bit easier because I still am missing the level of separation that I would require in order to just unfeelingly slash. But I'm working on it. We all are. So in the meantime, what can we do to make this easier? How can we create some objectivity for ourselves? And the first thing is really simple. It's so simple, y'all. After you finish writing and before you start editing, let your manuscript rest. Put it in a drawer. Leave it alone. Get it out of your brain. I know you have been thinking about this story while you're taking walks, while you're in the shower, while you're cooking supper. You've been ruminating on it, you know? You've been trying to figure out those plot points. You've been trying to get to know those characters. You live inside of your story so much, and you gotta get out of it. You have to step outside of that story and get some distance. So when I say let your manuscript rest, when I say put it away, I mean don't work on it, but I also mean don't think about it. And that is so hard. And it can really help to have like a mini project during this time. Maybe you feel like starting a whole new book, and that's great. Like, go for it. Maybe you write a short story. Maybe you do a lot of journaling. Maybe you focus on some stuff that you've been neglecting while you've been working on your book. Spend time with friends, you know, hang out with your animals, which I promise, I do have a dog here. He's looking at me like, I know you're there. I just am doing my own thing. So, be like Rocket. Do your own thing while your manuscript is resting. All right, so that's number one, and that's an easy one, y'all. I know it can be difficult. There can be challenges with it, but just take my word for that one, okay? And people ask how long. It's different for everybody. I always find that a month is a good starting point, but it depends how long you've been in it. It depends how deep in that story you are. You usually kind of know when you feel like you have fresh eyes, when you can look at it and go, oh yeah, it doesn't feel like I just ripped my heart out and threw it down on this page yesterday. When it kind of feels like it was written by someone else. That's when you know you've got enough distance. All right, the second thing you can do, this one's a little bit tougher. Play devil's advocate. Of my clients, the ones who are the most successful are the ones who consistently question their own choices. Don't just defend your choice to your editor, to yourself. Don't dig your heels in. That's not a good place to be. If you have your heels dug into the soil, you're missing something, because it is so incredibly rare with writing that there is a perfect solution. We are always sacrificing something. As an editor, every change that I make, I'm weighing it out, because if I want to keep a sentence that imparts a lot of unique voice, a lot of the time I'm sacrificing concision. If I think this subplot is worth expanding and really giving some page space, then we are sacrificing something else, because it doesn't come free. And if we do decide to keep everything in, then we're sacrificing that good word count, that good pacing. So everything, you are weighing it out. And so if you really dig in your heels about something, if that is your first response to be impressed, is to defend and not to step back and try to look at it from different perspectives, you're setting yourself up for failure. Learn to question yourself in a productive way. There's definitely a place on the end of the spectrum with this that you are gonna freeze yourself up, and we're not talking about self-doubt. We're not talking about that little voice inside your head that's saying, everything you do is wrong and you're terrible and your writing sucks and everyone hates you and the world is ending. We're not talking about that. That voice, that's a different conversation. I'm going to talk about that later in a different episode, but for now, we're talking about being able to look at your stuff and know that you're not perfect, and know that there are so many different ways that you could do something. You made a choice, and that's great, but be able to look at it and still see the other choices that you didn't make. Be able to look at it and think, I could have gone down this road instead, and I didn't because I saw this pitfall, but maybe there's another way around it. Maybe there's something I didn't see. And if you can consistently do that, then you are opening yourself up to a level of creativity that you're just not going to get otherwise. It opens you up to accepting feedback in a new way. If you don't have to defend yourself from constructive criticism, now you get to use it. And this is hard. Because if your story is really part of you in that deep-rooted way, then any criticism of your story is going to sound like a criticism of you. And your instinct is going to be to defend rather than to say, oh, there might be something to that. Let me think about it. So in order to get to this place, you really have to be able to operate with that level of objectivity. Honestly, just practicing, just playing devil's advocate with yourself is such a good road to get there, to start training your brain to see the possibilities. So when you're editing, when you're looking at your work, I would caution you from playing this game too much while writing, while drafting, because you will freeze yourself up. But while you are outlining, pre-writing, and while you're editing and revising your own stuff, really look at your choices and just play devil's advocate. Just say, well, I made this choice, but the devil on my shoulder says I could have gone this way. What would have happened? Let's follow that train of thought. What would be gained? What would be lost? Is it worth considering? And if you practice that, if you really challenge yourself to do that, you are going to develop a level of objectivity that most writers just don't have. The other thing that you can do is be honest with yourself. Remember your goals for your manuscript. Humans are really good at lying to ourselves to make ourselves more comfortable. And this is an uncomfortable process. Being critical of your own work, nothing about it is comfortable. It's not a feel-good movie on the couch, you know? It's not hanging out in the woods with your husky, who I think loves me. I swear, he is here. It's hard. And sometimes it hurts because you are looking at something that you put your heart and soul into. See, I told you I had a dog. So you're looking at something that you put your heart and soul into, and you're having to pick out what's wrong with it. It's not fun, but it can be. It can be if you can separate yourself from your manuscript. Really ask yourself, am I being completely honest, or am I protecting myself? And just get used to asking that question. Remind yourself what your goal is for your story. Maybe you're trying to launch your writing career. Maybe you're trying to write an honest memoir for your friends and family. Maybe you just have this story living in your heart that you want to get out into the world. Whatever it is, remind yourself why you're doing it. And that will guide you in the moments that you feel like it's easier to just let it be and leave what's written than to question it again, to ask again if you could have done something better. Because it gets old. I know it gets old. It gets hard. Sometimes we just want to say, okay, it's good enough. But if you keep working, keep practicing, keep learning how to separate yourself from it so it doesn't hurt so much. And then it gets easier. And then you start to see the rewards of asking those questions over and over, because your books are stronger and you're proud of them. Whether you're reaching those external goals or not, that feeling of writing something you're proud of, it just can't be beat. So with all of this, let it rest. Don't think about it while it's resting. Play devil's advocate. Be honest with yourself. Remind yourself of your goals. These all require practice. You can't just wake up and suddenly not care anymore. You can't just wake up and feel like your manuscript is separate enough from you now that you can take that criticism, both from others and yourself. It takes intentional practice and really being mindful, noticing the way that you feel when you are looking at your manuscript, receiving criticism, when you're analyzing the story yourself. How do you feel? Do you feel nervous? Do you feel scared? Do you feel doubt? If so, you may need to look at your relationship with your book, with your story, and really start practicing some of these ways to develop that objectivity. And it'll get better and better over time. Another way to make the editing process easier on yourself is to really put the work in before drafting. This is a technique that I really recommend to folks who are looking to draft faster and produce better quality first drafts.